The old man came out at the same time every morning. And every morning, she was already waiting. Not on the feeder, not on the fence, on the third rail of the porch, the one that caught the first sun, the same spot day after day before he ever opened the door. She was small, a kinked tail, a pale patch of cream on her chest, one ear that turned wrong in the cold. To him, she was just a squirrel. To her, he was not just a man, he was a landmark, a fixed point in a map she'd been building since before she could climb. And the things she knew about him, the things science is only beginning to understand, is stranger and quieter than love. This is a squirrel's life, where we follow one squirrel at a time, one real season, one small life, the kind of story happening in your own yard right now that you only ever see 3 seconds of. If that's the kind of quiet you like, stay a while. Subscribe, and you won't miss her. Because what happened between this squirrel and this man over the years that followed, and what she did the winter he didn't come out, changed the way I look at every animal outside my own window. People ask the same question, over and over. Does the squirrel in my yard actually know me? After all this time, does it remember my face? The real answer is not the one you're expecting. And to understand it, you have to go back to the first cold morning she ever trusted anyone. She was born in a dray, high in the oak, a loose ball of leaves and bark most people mistake for a clump of debris and never look at twice. Her first world was small, 3 trees, 1 fence line, the man's porch. But small is not the same as simple. By her first autumn, she was doing something that would put most human memories to shame. She was burying food, not in a pile, not in one safe place, but scattered, hundreds of caches, then thousands. A single gray squirrel can hide several thousand stores in a single season. And here's the part that's hard to believe. She remembers where. Researchers at UC Berkeley, studying how squirrels hide and recover food, found they don't bury at random. They organize. They sort their caches by type, almonds in one area, acorns in another. A mental filing system scientists call chunking. She isn't frantically hoarding. She's building a library, and she's the only one who can read it. That same map, the one that holds every buried acorn, is the map the man lives on. Because to her, he was never a face first. He was a location, a time of day, a rhythm, the soft sound of a door, the weight of boots on old wood, the exact angle he came around the corner. She learned him the way she learned the yard, as a pattern that repeated and did not hurt her. The first morning she took a walnut from the rail beside his hand, she didn't look at his eyes. She watched his shoulders. Predators lunge, and she was reading his body for the flinch that never came. The man had started talking to her by then, a low, steady stream of nonsense, the way people do with animals they've come to love. He'd even given her a name. She didn't know the word, but she knew the sound of his voice, the way she knew the creak of the third step. And when it came, her shoulders eased, and she came down the trunk head first, back feet turned all the way around, toward the one human her map had marked as safe. And she could tell him from anyone else. One spring, a visitor came to the house, a friend of the man's, about the same size, standing in about the same spot, holding out a walnut in about the same way. She would not come. She circled, she watched from the tree. It wasn't the nut she doubted, it was him. Wrong weight on the boards, wrong rhythm in the step. Wrong. A squirrel can tell one person from another, not by memorizing a face, but by the whole signature of how a body moves through the world. To her, a stranger wasn't a new friend. A stranger was an unknown. And unknown is where danger lives. But trust, for a squirrel, is not a feeling. It's a calculation, and the numbers are brutal. Most squirrels born in that oak will never see a second winter. The first year takes more than half of them. Hawks, cars, cold, cats. A young squirrel lives its whole life inside a thin margin, between one meal and starving, one mistake and gone. So every second she spent on that rail, still, close, exposed, was a bet. Coming to him meant not watching the sky, and the sky is where death usually comes from. One morning, it nearly did. A shadow crossed the yard, a red-tailed hawk dropping fast. She didn't run blindly. She flattened against the oak's north side, the side the porch couldn't see, and went silent. Squirrels don't just flee, they choose. A threat from the ground and a threat from the air get different alarm calls, different tail signals, different escape routes. She had one plan for the sky and another for the neighbor's cat, and in a fraction of a second, she ran the right one. And she wasn't the only one who wanted what the yard gave. Other squirrels crossed her trails, dug where she had dug, robbed stores she'd spent whole afternoons hiding. A squirrel can lose a large share of its buried food to thieves. Every theft was a morning of work, gone. So when the man was watching, and only then, safe, she'd do something researchers have caught squirrels doing again and again. She'd dig a hole, make a great show of pushing a nut inside, pat the soil down, and bury nothing at all. A decoy, a lie told to a world full of thieves that might be watching. The real nut stayed in her cheek and went somewhere no one saw. She trusted the man. She trusted almost nothing else. And she never once confused the two. The years went by the way they do for a squirrel, fast. 2 winters, 3. She raised her own young in the same oak, and on cold mornings she brought them to the low branch above the porch and sat and let them watch the man from a safe distance. She was teaching them the map. And the man, the door, the boots, the rhythm, was on it. A safe landmark, passed down. Then came the winter he didn't come out. The door stayed shut. No boots, no walnut on the third rail. The morning sun came up on an empty porch. And she waited. Not once. She came back the next day and the day after. She checked that rail the way she checked every cache she had ever buried, returning to a place her memory swore something should be. Because for a squirrel, the map doesn't update the moment the world changes. It holds. It insists. Scientists who study animal memory will tell you that map lives in the hippocampus, the same seat of place in memory we carry in our own heads, only sharper, in a creature that has to remember where it hid its life. Hers had held thousands of locations. Losing one, his, was not something it knew how to do quickly. This is the answer to the question everyone asks. Does she remember you? Not your face, not the way you'd remember hers. She never memorized your eyes, your mouth, the particular human details you think of as you. What she memorized was harder to fool and far harder to forget. Your place in her world, your timing, your rhythm, the shape of your kindness, in a landscape that offered her almost none. You were never a picture to her. You were a fixed point she steered by, and a squirrel does not forget its landmarks. That is why she kept returning to an empty rail. In the only language her mind has, she was still expecting you, because you were still on the map. The following spring, a young squirrel with a familiar kink in its tail took a seed from that same rail. It had never met the man, but it had been shown the spot by a mother who trusted it, who'd been shown by hers. That's the thing almost no one sees. The single squirrel is small and its life is short, but the map outlives it. The trust you build with one animal in your yard can be handed down to another you'll never recognize. A quiet inheritance, written into the geography of one small backyard. There's a squirrel out there right now, on a rail, a fence, a branch, holding a map with a person on it. Maybe a person who's gone. Maybe you. Most people spend their whole lives believing the squirrel outside just wants the food. You know now. It built a place for you, and it kept it long after it made any sense to. So the next time the same squirrel is waiting, before you've even opened the door, you'll know exactly what that is. Not begging, not luck, memory. Tell me about the squirrel that knows your yard, the one that waits, the one you've named, the one that came back. I read every one, and I'll see you in the next one.